This is What a week.
What a week. PoliTricks.
Eta, good morning, good evening, good night, depending on where in the world you are. Welcome to another episode of Wow, What a Week, hashtag PoliTricks with Fresh and Botsang Modimowame Moiloa.
Brother Fresh, good morning.
Why are you looking like an overpaid advocate? You are dressed very, very dapper.
Don't make me tell the viewers that you guys have been saying things to me. I've dressed like a corrupt lawyer.
You're very dapper.
Now, keep it to them. Thank you, my brother.
It's almost like only busy. I shoot their GQ, and then you told them, guys, I've got other things to do. And then you came here. You're looking very good.
Tato, I'm going to court and for a decision of my work life on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And because my counsel will not be available from Monday or during the week in prep to go to court, we decided let's meet today and polish our shoes. But
surely if you're going to be meeting your lawyer about your work situation, you must go in a t-shirt and shorts and tell them this is all I can afford.
No. At least this one knows my situation. I don't have to mislead him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, Neraka takes you because
quantum.
Yeah, okay, because petrol. Anyway, not Pope John Paul II. You know, you can tell I'm from the Pope John Paul II generation.
Me too.
Because that's the name that comes to mind when I think of popes.
I've been saying John Paul the whole week.
Yeah.
I've been making that mistake. But yeah, let's get over that.
Do you know that I even know someone who was baptized by John Paul II?
Yes, you told me. Actually, I met the person.
So Alex
yes.
from Gemelli. His real name is not Alex, it's Alessandro, which is Italian, because his parents worked in Lesotho. I think they were representing the Lesotho government.
Yes.
In Rome. So because the dad and the mom, they were diplomats in Lesotho, he was born and baptized in Italy by Pope John Paul II. He baptized him Alessandro.
I remember you introduced me to the guy the day we were at his restaurant or his brother's restaurant.
Yes.
And you told me that story. You've got a very good memory.
I forget nothing, brother.
Yes, sad news, man.
Pope Francis is gone.
Yes, condolences to the bigger what you call it, Roman Catholic, community or nation, because the whole nation all over the world. And you know what drawn my attention to this, the Pope has rested. He was 88 years old, the very first Pope that is not going to be actually buried inside the Vatican. And somebody was asking me, why is this thing about, Pope John Paul, you see, I still say it again, John Paul, about Pope Francis. They're so big and the security environment. And I always say to people, by the way, the Vatican, it may be in Italy, but it's a country on its own. Even the United Nations Secretary General, sent condolences as well. I've seen messages from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, because he had met with the Pope before. They has attended a service by the Pope, and yeah, it's but when elderly people rest, especially when they've been sick, the man has been in and out of the hospital for the last 2 years.
So you are saying it's not a coincidence that he met Vice President Vance from the Trump administration and then proceeded to pass away? Are you saying there's no link?
No, there's no coincidence. The man has been sick. There's a coincidence.
If I met someone from an evil administration, I might just die also.
I might just die.
On some,
For me, the coincidence is that he passed on during the Easter weekend.
Sure.
You understand? That's a big coincidence. Look, there's been speculations for many months that he has long passed away. They had just kept the body in state. But look, he has finally rested. The funeral actually on Saturday today. And having a look at this whole thing, my only concern was the whole security around the Vatican. If it's a Catholic church, why so much security? You know that they're treated like state presidents or heads of state.
Because there will always be someone. I mean, they tried to assassinate John Paul II.
Yes,
remember?
Yes, I recall vividly.
Exactly. And I mean, if you are the spiritual leader or father of over 1 billion people, your security is actually of more importance than of any world leader. So for me, it makes sense why you'd have all that security. There might be people who are anti-Catholic.
Catholicism,
There
yeah.
might be people who are anti-Christian. There might be people who think, for me to get my name out there, I should be the guy that assassinated the Pope. So it makes all the sense to me why you'd have all that security, including that ugly vehicle, the Pope Mobile.
Why do you call it ugly?
The Pope Mobile, it's an ugly vehicle.
You know that's actually a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon.
It's a G-Wagon,
modified.
yes. Modified. Now
Yes.
it looks very ugly. Already it looks ugly in J. It looks like a baby son, not Quantum woman. It looks like a venture. It looks like a venture that went to private school.
G-Wagon drivers are not going to be happy with you.
But they know for the G-Wagon, it looks like a
venture.
A venture
They
that
say
went
it's a
to private
glorified
school.
venture.
Oh, a venture. And there's nothing wrong with wanting a glorified venture.
I'll stick to my American Jeep.
Now, there are obviously now differing views on the legacy of Pope Francis.
Yes.
There are those who felt that he was too liberal. There's even conspiracies saying he was taken out because he was too liberal.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are people who are saying not enough was done. So, for instance, when you look at issues of male priest abuse of boys
Yes.
in the Catholic Church over the last however many hundreds of years, as much as he addressed it, there are many who feel like, but was enough done to deal with this?
Well, compared to what? When you say something was enough done, you compare it to what? If he found that zero was done before his time, and he did much to fight this thing of sodomizing boys or men, and it went more out. Let us be fair and honest. We heard and we read and we saw more stories out during his 12-year reign. I think it was 12 years, 10 or 12 years reign. But also there were positive changes. He is the first pope to have ordained or introduced a woman as a head of one of the schools or the arms of the Vatican.
In fact, he brought more women into the fold.
Yes, than any other pope.
Than any other pope.
So we must give credit where it's due. And I don't know why human beings like to talk about a person's doing or not doing when a person is late. I want people to challenge me whilst I'm still alive so that I can defend myself and answer, not talk when I'm late and I can't defend or answer to say this is what I've done. People are raising issues about him now when he's late. Why didn't they say it a month or two ago when he could respond or the Vatican could respond? But, in Setswana, you don't go and talk about their deceased before they are even buried, and you start sharing their spoils.
And then there's also the massive debate about, his position on the alphabet gang, the LBGTQ plus
Yes.
LMNOP. Alphabet thing ilang. Anyway, and I agree with him that who am I to judge? Because that was his position.
Yes.
That let's treat people with dignity. Because who are we to judge? But there are people who felt that why are you encouraging
Tato,
such?
that is my position, and maybe mine is influenced by being, or following or practicing Buddhism. It's the same position with the Dalai Lama and the Buddhism.
Yeah.
Actually, there are people who are making jokes to say Buddha was actually a queer. You don't know whether he was a man or a woman, and things like that. But for me, it's a human being. Treat human beings with dignity and respect.
Full stop.
And that's it. As long as they're human beings, whether they chose their choices or not, it's their choices, as long as it does not interfere with other people's choices or preferences. But it's human beings, you treat them with humanity. That's my view, my brother.
Absolutely. Are we leaving the Vatican?
Yes, may the Pope rest in eternal peace.
So he will be laid to rest today, in
Yes,
fact,
yes.
this Saturday. Let's go to Tembisa Hospital, the East Rand of Johannesburg. Not only was it on fire a couple of days ago, it was on fire again a couple of days after that.
Yes.
What's going on with Tembisa?
But let me take the viewers and followers and you backwards a little bit. You remember that 5 years back, there was also one hospital in Gauteng, Charlotte Maxeke,
Yes.
that went on fire. The funny thing is, at that time, it was not just dismissed, it was dismissed one as arson, and the government unleashed the spies of the country, intelligence services, to go and investigate. And the intelligence report came out and said it was definitely arson, it was an internal job, but to this day, after 5 years, nobody has been charged and prosecuted for that. The worst part is that part of the hospital at Charlotte Maxeke, to this day, after 5 years, it has not been repaired. You understand? Now comes Tembisa, exactly 4 days in between. I think this happened Saturday night or Sunday night,
Yes.
and then on Wednesday morning or Tuesday evening, adjacent to that section of the bill. First, it was the ICU. Now we've learned that it is the, what do they call it, the emergency entrance center where emergencies come in and all that. You can see the targeted places are very critical, very important, and very expensive.
Yeah, because the buildings were adjacent to one another.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, it's not a conspiracy theory. Tato, this is my belief. I think this is an internal work, and it's people who just want to go and rebuild and make money out of that. People are speculating that it could be that they want to destroy information, because remember, Tembisa Hospital has been in the headlines for many years. The CEO was charged, the overalls and the jeans and the uniform. And all
there was that big case where, I don't know if Babita Diokaran...
Babita Diokaran was murdered for that as well.
Was she an auditor, or was she...
She was actually in the finance division of I don't know if an auditor, but I think she was more on accounting.
But she flagged the fact that something's amiss.
Yes. And she was murdered for that. Now, I don't think this has to do with evidence, because with the case of Babita and the investigations of Tembisa Hospital being concluded, remember there was a commission of inquiry, and that's when the CEO was found to have played a role in this whole thing.
Yes.
They would have not kept the documents. Then they banned the hospital, not where the archives sit, the physical building. I think it has to do with people who want tenders, who want contracts to go and renovate that building or rebuild it. The same thing that has happened in Parliament in Cape Town, you understand? It's the battle of the money and the contracts. I think that's where this issue is, that people want contracts, they want money, they want to go and renovate Tembisa Hospital, and in order to make money out of this, in order to milk the hospital. And sadly, the Gauteng government is not doing what we call precautionary measures. You had fire in your house on Saturday. On Wednesday, we have fire on a room adjacent to another one, and there are no precautionary measures that you have taken into place.
It's like you learned nothing from the first
fire. You learned
nothing.
It's, in those few days, you understand? But there's a worse thing also. Yeah. The parliamentary committee or oversight committee over Gauteng government health services and hospitals, they did a study 2-3 years back. And they found out that actually none of the hospitals in the Gauteng province are compliant with occupational and health safety measures as prescribed. None, not even one.
You know the funny thing, I was listening to a spokesperson for the Department of Health talking about the second Tembisa Hospital fire and about how they've been working on the compliance of the hospital, and that now it's up to
79%.
But I was like, surely you need to be 100% fire compliant or there's a problem.
Exactly my point.
Because you must leave nothing to chance.
When this report came out 2-3 years back, they were at 75%.
Yeah.
The spokesperson of the Gauteng Department of Health says they are now, after 3 years, they are now at 79% for health and safety measures. These guys are not serious.
Because your target should be 100% compliance. Otherwise, you're leaving things to chance that have to do with life and death situations.
And why would a hospital not be in compliance with health measures? Most of the people who go to that casualty ward is because of burnings, accidents, and what. You understand? And then the same hospital that is supposed to take care of people who are victims of accidents, any kind of accident, whether it's burns. It's like in my house, my kids always shift the fire extinguisher and hide it somewhere because it's an ugly instrument. And I tell them, you can't put the fire extinguisher somewhere at the back.
It's not here for vanity.
It has to be in case we are suffocated and we are unconscious. Somebody who's coming to rescue us must see that fire extinguisher. That's why you find in offices and government buildings, it's supposed to hang actually where everybody can see it. No, my kids put it behind the washing machine. They say it's an ugly thing. I'm like, but it doesn't have to be beautiful. Yeah. But again, these are public service officials. And with the report that has been there for, like I've said, these reports pile up dust.
Sure.
They are not doing enough on basic things.
It's weird. You're talking about a fire extinguisher at home. Your average household doesn't even have a fire extinguisher. or a first aid kit, or knowledge on what to do in
Or
the
what
event
to use,
that
yeah.
a child drowns, or in the event that someone severs an artery by any chance.
Yeah.
And I think these are things we take for granted, but we need to start prioritizing things like that, especially where you've got auntie at home with the kids.
Exactly.
You know, does auntie know anything about first aid? If you have a pool, and in fact, you don't even need a swimming pool for a drowning. A child can drown in a bucket of water, especially a toddler.
Yes.
Does auntie know what to do in the event that there's a drowning incident? Or is it going to be, call an ambulance?
Well, Tato, me, I think it was brought up by my diplomatic training. You know, in the previous years,
Yeah.
those who were in the administration of the diplomatic service, we were trained for such. It was part of the requirement.
Yeah.
Firefighting, first aid, and all. That was the first. The second part, if this is a brainwash, I welcome the brainwash. The Germans, because that was my first posting, brainwash me. You wouldn't leave the hospital in Germany with a newborn baby without
A car seat.
a car seat
Yeah.
to secure even a baby.
Yeah.
That's one. You wouldn't have a car without a fire extinguisher. To this day, both my cars or vehicles have fire extinguishers. I always have a fire extinguisher at home. The bad thing is that I haven't serviced them for the last 2 years, which is actually useless. If you
Next
have
thing
it,
there's
then
a
it's not
fire
serviced.
and your extinguisher just goes.
But I think you are right by mentioning the first aid kit as well. Most vehicles I've seen, you know, most imported vehicles actually,
Sure.
they come with a first aid kit. But it's also useless to have a first aid kit and you don't know how
You
to
don't
use
know
the-
what to do with
what
it.
to do with it. Yeah.
Absolutely. The other day I was reading a story about a DJ who, I think a bottle of Hubley broke under the arm or something,
The band, yeah.
and they bled out. When we had Sydney here, when we were talking about firearm ownership,
Yes,
he
yes.
spoke about a course called Stop the Bleed and the importance of courses like Stop the
Stop
Bleed.
the bleed, yes.
Because your average person will not know what to do if you are bleeding profusely.
And people
And-
bled to death.
And people often bleed out and die unnecessarily because we don't know what to do. The fact that someone died because a bottle of Hubley cut them, if anyone in that room had done the Stop the Bleed course, that person might not have died.
Yeah, yeah.
But because we don't know what to do, we panic.
Maybe in one of your celebrity shows, you must invite a first aid, and just to help people and to share information. We share a lot of political and government admin information. No, we can save a number of lives by having a first aid person. Not my mother, please.
Sure.
Anybody else.
In fact, I'd like to actually interview our parents at some stage. I must bring them in so we can interview our parents.
I would want to be an observer.
No, you'll watch it online. Anyway, there's a problem. We've been trying to get to sit in front of us for a while now, but extradition is quite a process. Self-proclaimed prophet Shepherd Bushiri and his wife need to be extradited back to South Africa from Malawi to face fraud and rape charges,
Yes.
amongst others.
Amongst others, yes.
And as if that was not enough, Floyd Shivambu, MK Party Secretary General over Easter, decided, guys, hold my beer. I want to visit the fugitive pastor. Let's talk about that. Do you think he is... Because he knew what he was doing, man.
Yes.
And it's not like he's politically naive.
No. He's one of the sharpest political minds in the country.
So why would he...
Why would he not, Tato?
Even if it's your pastor,
Yes.
go there quietly and pray. Why is he allowing it to be a whole media thing, knowing that already the Justice Department is trying to bring this fugitive back to SA? Like, what are you saying? Is this your middle finger to the Justice Department? Is this your middle finger to your country?
My brother, you know, double standards don't work with me.
Yeah.
And I've been on this case the whole week before us sitting here today. Some radio stations and media have had privileges of me talking to it. I even had a very serious but professional confrontation with our friend Minister Mamulu Kukubai, because after she issued the statement, or after her department actually, Umkhonto party issued a statement, then they almost at the same time simultaneously issued statements. Umkhonto is distancing themselves from the actions or the conduct of Mr. Shivambu, and then the Ministry of, what do you call it?
In
Justice.
fact, Minister Kubai herself says not only does such behavior by a political leader undermine the credibility of the judiciary, but also diminishes the gravity of the charges against Pastor Bushiri.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, here
What
is
are
my
your
argument.
thoughts?
Here is my thoughts and arguments.
Do I need to sit down?
You can sit down.
Okay.
Number one, you are standing up. Number one, the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, whether we like it or not, in the Bill of Rights, gives us freedom of association, and association does not mean only political party organization. Churches associating even with criminals, as long as the court cannot find you guilty to be an associate of a crime committed.
Sure.
And I've made examples. One tip, and I'll make the political examples. First of all, Floyd Shivambu traveled to Malawi in inverted commas, with his own money, with his own private passport, at his own time, without wearing umkhonto regalia. That's number one. Number two, Floyd Shivambu does not occupy any public political office in this country. He's not a civil servant. He's not even a politician in parliament. He's not a chief whip of MK. He is a normal citizen who works for umkhonto the same way as Fikile Mbalula works for the African National Congress.
But both secretary generals of both parties will often be held to a different standard to your ordinary citizen anyway.
That is fair.
Because you'd think they are politically savvy and they understand the consequences of certain actions and inactions, and should understand that sometimes read the room, despite how strongly you feel about something.
Yes.
What are the optics?
Okay. Now, my response to that part, because a lot of people have brought it and said, why is this applicable when it comes to Floyd Shivambu? And I'm going to give you three examples of political office bearers this time, not just SG, people who are occupied. I'll start with the number one head of state. Both President Zuma and President Ramaphosa, they have hosted, dined with fugitives or wanted criminals. And I love President Putin, you know. President Putin is on the wanted list of the International Court of Justice. There's a warrant of arrest for President Putin. President Ramaphosa, after that warrant of arrest has been issued, he has met, whether officially or not, whether BRICS or not, he has met with President Putin several times. What are we saying about that? And we are. People say, no, it's not the same as president to president. He's a wanted criminal. Wanted criminal by what? By the International Court of Justice that we, as South Africa, are a signatory to. We are supposed to, if President Putin comes to South Africa, according to the International Court of Justice that we have signed to it, we are supposed to arrest him. What do we say about that? Somebody will say, but peace talks and his presidents.
But we failed to arrest was it?
Al-Bashir.
Al-Bashir.
And that's why I mentioned President Zuma. President Al-Bashir came to South Africa. We actually helped him to say go. So why is it double standard? This is head of state, and everybody was quiet about that. You understand? And somebody can say, yeah, but the ICJ, it's nonsense. They are biased. But we are signatories.
Yeah.
We actually,
if we don't like the club we're in, we must leave the club.
We must leave the club. We as signatories of the ICJ, we actually went to the ICJ to get a warrant of arrest. For who? For Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. You understand? So Benjamin Netanyahu has the ICJ warrant of arrest pushed by what? By the Republic of South Africa. So this is double standards. That's one part. The other part is the other day, me and you, we spoke about the Democratic Alliance, AfriForum, and Solidarity on separate trips. They went to the USA. I still suspect today that the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, who is from the Democratic Alliance, who traveled with the DA delegation to the USA, I suspect, traveled with the official diplomatic passport of the country. What did the government say? They're quiet. And when I say the government, I say the department, either Home Affairs, Terrico, or Justice. They went to the USA to talk nonsense about, or to support nonsense and lies about the government of the day, which some of us say it's treasonous. And we are quiet about it. It's double standards. Let me give you the worst one or the last one. Menomvula Mokonyani, my own sister, who is the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, she led a delegation.
And your home girl from the West End.
My home girl from the West End.
Yeah.
She led a delegation of the ANC to meet with Hamas. who are listed as a terrorist organization, not only by the US, by many countries, including the UN. They met with them.
But it was an intervention. It wasn't to a meeting to party.
It does not matter. Now,
it was how can we fix what's
fix
happening?
This thing, release the hostage. It was for good cause.
Exactly.
Now,
so I will defend her on that.
You'll defend her. Good. Yeah. I'll defend Floyd Shivambu, and not because I like him. Actually, somebody said to me, "You never liked Floyd." I said, "I never hated Floyd."
Exactly.
And I said, "I never hated him." But let me be the devil's advocate on the Easter week.
Yeah.
What if Floyd Shivambu went to the pastor not only to pray, to say, and we all know they've been friends.
Or to say, come home. We just
home.
want to talk.
No, come home and face the music. God will protect you. What if Floyd Shivambu says, I went there to meet my bishop or my pastor to say, you know what, in order to clear your name, I believe you as my pastor. I believe that you are a good man of God, of the cloth. Come to South Africa. Don't fight this thing legally. Come and face. What if Floyd went there to encourage his pastor, his friend? We don't know. For a good cause. You are speculating. What if he actually even went there just to pray and take off his sins and allegations about VBS and move into controversies?
And beg for forgiveness for betraying the EFF.
Exactly. And Tato, let me tell the people of South Africa and the world, it is an open secret, and if somebody wants that information, I can provide it. This Pastor Bishop Major One Bushiri, he funded the ANC and the EFF. He did. He funded the lifestyle of the leaders of those political parties. They dined with him before he escaped and all of those things. And it was not, but even Matole Motshekga at some stage led the ANC delegation to go and meet Bushiri. There's records of that for whatever reason. Even the former Minister of Finance, the former leader of the Youth League of the ANC, he became the Minister of Finance. And why do I forget this gentleman? He went to church, you know, in Pastor Bushiri. Now, are you saying the day there are allegations against my own pastor, spiritual leader from the Buddhist, I must disassociate with that person? No. You understand? They don't know why Floyd was there. We don't have the facts. I think the government rushed into this whole thing to say it's a fugitive. Now let me bring a legal terminology.
Do you think they were under pressure because social media was applying pressure already?
I actually said to Minister Mamuluku in Twitters and all that, I think your department bowed to social media pressure.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. I spoke to a lawyer on Tuesday evening.
Sure.
Is Bushiri a fugitive? If you go and define now what is a fugitive according to the dictionary or legal terminology, a fugitive is somebody who is on the run from the law, is hiding. Is Bushiri on the run from the law or hiding? Where we are now.
No, but hiding is not necessarily you are now in a secret building. Hiding could just be you are hiding from the clasps of justice.
Yes.
To say, come here, we just want to talk.
Is he in
So hiding
state?
is not necessarily hiding.
Yes,
you
but
can hide in plain sight.
Yes. But is Major One, what is his title? Is it a pastor or a bishop? What is he?
Kipapa.
Okay, let's call him Pastor Bushiri.
You know, my friend's mother is like a Bushiri diehard,
Okay.
and she buys all the oils.
Oh no!
And there was a time he was doing, I think he was in China.
Yes.
And she was tuned in to that thing in China.
He goes that far.
Yes. And she had the oils out. So whenever she goes on her Bushiri, is Papa. He leaves the room basically. But he was telling me that in that house, there's oils, there's everything, all the merchandise.
Maybe I must try that stuff. Listen, Dad, I'm bringing you
Maybe you'll get your job back.
Yeah, maybe I must visit Papa. Let me bring two last important things about Bushiri.
Yes, sir.
And my definition of a fugitive.
Yeah.
You cannot be regarded and called a fugitive. Yes, he was a fugitive when he disappeared, and we were looking for him after we facilitated his departure. The government hasn't said to us as a nation, how did Bushiri leave South Africa?
And does his passport have a stamp?
Yeah, no, it does a stamp. Where? What was the port of exit? You understand? That's one. Two, a fugitive in this instance, I say Bushiri stopped being a fugitive the day he handed himself over The key word is he handed himself over. You have been a fugitive. There's an application by the Republic of South Africa to the Republic of Malawi to say there's a fugitive hiding there and he's in his church, he's been seen in public place. Please help us, arrest him and extradite him.
So are you saying
he handed himself over?
So you're saying the day he challenged the extradition order?
Before that, the day he handed himself over to the Malawian authorities, who had already indicated that they have received a note verbal from the Republic of South Africa to arrest Bushiri. He handed himself over. Now you are no longer a fugitive. He went to court. He attended all proceedings in court in Malawi until he was found guilty of running away from South Africa by a magistrate court, and he's appealing. At the moment, Pastor Major One Bushiri is not a fugitive. He is in a legal appeal process. He's appealing to a higher court, the decision of a lower court. So there's a legal process that we must respect as a state. There's a legal, so he's not running away. You cannot call him a fugitive. You understand? That's one element of this whole thing, to say we cannot keep on saying a person is a fugitive when there's a legal process taking place. It's like when you have accused a person for murder or for rape, and the court hasn't pronounced that. What do we always say? An alleged rapist. You understand? So he's not a fugitive because he's in the hands of the court now. He's out on bail in Malawi.
Okay, so that's all semantics right now.
Yeah, all I'm saying is not semantics, it's facts.
Yeah.
It's facts. That is what
but
is
he's
happening.
running away from coming here to answer questions.
Yes. And are
so
you
he's
saying,
a runner.
when you are a runner, when you have run away, and I'll go back to, does it mean you can't engage with people that you seek counsel from, that are your family and friends, that may be guiding you to say, but come and face the music? What if Floyd was going there as a politician or a friend to counsel the pastor? What if that's the case? You know, if I was Floyd Shivambu, I would have issued a statement.
And spun it.
I would have said, I went there to tell my pastor to please come and face the music in South Africa. He would have killed this whole noise. He would have actually done something.
Would have been a master stroke.
A master stroke.
Yeah.
You know, these people must hire me to come and do.
Be the fixer.
Fixer. I would have issued a statement
to
say, I went there to tell my pastor to counsel to him. I've done something that diplomats and justice have failed to do, to engage him, not rush to courts and processes that may delay. I went straight to him.
Instead of busy celebrate.
Yeah,
when he could have spun this.
And the man that there's so many allegations that he has funded, and I've said it as well, the EFF and the ANC in South Africa. There's allegations that he's funding the Republic of Malawi. He's very close to the president. There's rumors that he left with the presidential jet.
Listen, it's not a coincidence that the president of Malawi was here.
Yes.
Then the president of Malawi was not here.
Yes. And Bushiri was not here.
Bushiri was also not here.
And anyway.
Like,
and
I'm not good at maths, but that one is mathing.
For me, sometimes 1 + 1 is not 2, it's 3 - 1. After Bushiri landed in Malawi.
Hey, ODP today.
After Pastor Bushiri landed in Malawi, what is it, 2-3 years back?
Yeah.
He issued a statement to say, no, I left with a diplomatic passport. He said it. The government of Malawi issued him and the wife new passport. It's not an allegation. He said it in a media statement. You know, the government of Malawi facilitate. The South African government must have stamped that passport. And I'm challenging the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. I'm challenging Minister Mamuluku Kubai to say, Minister, start with your minister at Home Affairs or at DERCO. Go and check who facilitated, who stamped that, which port of exit or entry did Bushiri use. Then we can start there.
So let's say you're a fugitive, but you have a diplomatic passport. Where does your immunity begin and end?
Well, the diplomatic passport is a different case. That you know that diplomats have been arrested in the world with their
I'm
immunity.
sure.
Even in South Africa, you remember the case of Lesotho diplomats who were buying alcohol.
They were selling alcohol and buying and
yes.
selling alcohol, yes.
When I was stationed in Germany, we had the issue of a diplomat of Zimbabwe and Zambia. They were arrested, one for drugs, another one for drinking, driving, and he knocked a person to death.
A lot of African diplomats have drunk driving stories.
My brother, I will defend my colleague. I refuse. A lot of diplomats in the world, forget African, a lot of diplomats.
I only read the stories of my people, the Africans.
Because white media is painting African diplomats bad. A lot of diplomats are alcoholics.
Yeah.
And they drink and drive.
And they abuse the
immunity. When
yeah.
they can actually have a driver. A lot, I'm telling you. It's a, you know...
many embassies have designated drivers.
Yes.
Why are you driving yourself?
Yeah, but I mean, when you want to go to the pink light district, why would the driver will expose you?
Okay.
Why am I exposing my colleagues?
Or you're going to the small house.
Or when you are going to the small house.
Okay.
But for me, I don't like double standards.
Sure.
And I think with Floyd Shivambu, in concluding this, we are playing double standards.
Sure.
You understand? We should not play double standards. Wrong is wrong, right is right.
But also, you know what the problem is, especially from social media, we love this mob mentality. We love this, let's tar and feather this person.
Yeah.
And often when someone raises that there's a double standard here, we're also the very same people who will not look at it objectively and agree that there's a double standard.
There's a double standard. And like I said, Floyd is not my friend. He's not even my favorite person. I've critiqued him a lot for various aspects. But I'm not defending Floyd. I'm saying we as South African, we are playing double standard. There's many cases that I can mention. Thabo Bester case, part of his records, when he was a fugitive, part of his records said there were politicians who went to visit him in jail. And then what if those people say, but he's my friend? You understand? So, and I don't know why the South African government, again, they're playing double standards. They issued even a private jet to go and fetch a fugitive called Thabo Bester and Nandipama Gudumana in Tanzania. Why don't we issue a jet to go and fetch Bushiri? Why are we not doing that? He's a fugitive as well. We know where he is. Malawi government is cooperating. Why are we not fetching Bushiri like we fetched Bester? What was so important with Bester? Bester was an escaped, what you call it, convict. Bushiri is a wanted person for serious crimes: rape, money laundering, stealing people's money. You know, serious crimes. We are fetching a ready person who's already in jail. We issued a jet to go and fetch him. And we are not issuing a jet or even sending policemen or immigration officials to go and fetch Bushiri. Why? We are playing double standards, and I'm saying that is not correct.
We're out of time.
Okay, my brother.
Do you want to still talk about Orania and Kleinfontein?
No, actually, let's talk about that quickly. Thumbs up to the controversies of party and the EFF. They are showing that they're in the opposition. Coincidentally, this happened on the same day or a day after each other. When the EFF, you know the EFF, I think, I wish, man, they were in replacing the DA in the GNU. They are doing things within the legal parameters. Did you see? They didn't march to Orania. I said to people, nobody will march to them. No black person will march to Orania. They will be blacksamed in South African language. Those people are armed. Those people are racist. Understand?
And they put the black in blacksome.
Yeah. No, man, Tato, blacksome is written with the BLI, man, not BLA. Anyway, correctly so, the economic freedom fighters marched to the offices of the Premier of the Northern Cape, because Orania is in the Northern Cape.
Yes. And
demarcation and allocation of private land, whether to chiefs and kings for cultural purposes, because they are hiding behind the cultural purposes. It sits with the Premier first. That's why premiers appoint chiefs and kings.
Okay, question. If me and you, as Botswana men, decide that we're going to start a Botswana enclave in the Northwest.
Yes.
Where we're going to promote all things cultural, our language, our way of life.
Yes.
Should that be allowed?
The Constitution.
And we say, if you are not a Motswana, you are not welcome in this enclave.
You see, now you are putting me in the spotlight. You are saying two different things. The first part of your question, yes, we can do that. The Constitution makes provision for that.
Sure.
Protection and upliftment of our cultural values and all that. Okay, that's the one part. It's section 235 of the Constitution.
Sure.
It allows that. The second part that you are asking, not allowed other people. It's where the problem is.
Okay.
You understand? Not for Orania and...
What happened to all rights reserved or all...
No, but in a public property.
Sure.
I mean, in a private property. All rights are reserved in my house or my apartment that I'm running business in, that I don't allow who and who. It's it's private. But once it's a public property or in a public space, your rights cannot be against what they call in law contra bonus mos is contrary to public policy.
Sure.
The public policy is you cannot exclude other people on the base of their race, culture, and religion.
Okay, so basically, then, so our Botswana enclave
Yes.
can't be to the exclusion of a Xhosa family who want to move in there.
No, they can't. Who want to move in there? And if that enclave is in a public place, if those Xhosa or Zulu or even Afrikaners want to go and practice in their private corner, they don't disturb what we are doing, what they want to do. They should be allowed. And that's why the problem is we allowed as a country this Orania thing to get out of hand. And it's Kleinfontein now where Umkhonto is a party, you know, Umkhonto is a party, they actually went to confront the leadership of Kleinfontein.
Sure.
Kleinfontein, for those who don't know, it's another new, or they call it the Klein Orania actually.
Sure.
It's in Pretoria. It's just next to Mamelodi. It's not far. I've been there actually, and it's the same creation and it's the same thing as Orania. The Kleinfontein one, it's even worse because they are using the city of Tshwane resources. They are still using electricity provided by city of Tshwane, and they talk of having boreholes, but that's not the issue. The issue is these Afrikaner culturalist people, they are misunderstanding or misusing Section 235 of the Constitution. And I think Umkhonto weSizwe as well as EFF, they are on the right track. They must take this matter to Parliament to can challenge the meaning of 235.
In fact, EFF Northern Cape leader Shadrack Tlaule said he's going to be the first black person to move into Orania.
Good luck to him.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but look, I think they are on the right track. I think they are also doing it right by challenging it legally, by saying to Parliament, we allowed this, the Premier allowed this, we as a country. Section 235 must either be explained very well to those people or enforced. The problem in South Africa is enforcement of the law. And good luck. I wonder if they will change the Constitution.
I've got another question. And it's a question that a lot of people often ask when you hear of a black child who was not admitted into an Afrikaans school. Why do we want to be a part of that in the first place?
I had
that if these people don't want us, why do we want them to want us?
No, I don't think that's the issue.
Or if these people are saying you're not a member, why do we want to be a member?
Why do you want to force to be a member where you are not wanted?
And the same people will also say, why can't we build our own thing that we are a part of versus, oh, Botsang seem to have built a nice thing there, let's also be a part of it. And then be upset when Botsang says, but you're not a member.
Tato, again, if it's against the public policy, and I'm not talking on behalf of the Afrikaners or whoever of their enclaves, if it's against public policy, if it has elements of discrimination and unfairness, you know, my friend Papano Pasha, my sister, as well as Pastor David, you know, we had this argument, but why do you want to go to, as we are asking, to Afrikaners' place? Why don't you build your place and seclude? Somebody even argued that why are the Afrikaner people not fighting to go and live in the township? Nobody's stopping them to that. It is their choice. My point is, allow me a choice to do what I want to do.
Okay.
Don't force, don't misquote the law and create rules, because this is rules. It's not the law, what they've done. It's rules who should live in Orania. You understand? Don't create rules.
Which is in South Africa.
Yes.
Which has rules and laws.
There's laws. Now you are creating rules that are against the supreme law of the country. And that's where the problem is.
Okay.
You understand? What if I'm a colored person and we speak Afrikaans at home, and I think my kids will be better if they speak pure, they say savor in Afrikaans, pure Afrikaans, and I think they are better off in an Afrikaans school. Or I'm a black person who prefers Afrikaans to English. They're both colonial languages. What's wrong with that? Another who prefers Afrikaans to English, and I want my kids to study Afrikaans, not English. Now that because of their pigmentation, you see where the problem is. Because of they are not pure, savor, bure, then they are not allowed into that African school. What EFF and Umkhonto weSizwe Party are saying is that the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa does not allow that. It has nothing to do with culture. Go and practice your cultural values and something in your backyard, man. Where you want to?
At a braai.
Yeah, at the braai. And did you see? Did you see the Kleinfontein guys? They offered Mzwanele Manyi and the MKP party members. They said, well, if you are ready, you can come and have Portuguese with us. Because this pot or Portuguese, whatever, there's also this mentality that it's an African thing. It is not. These people came here from Dutch sailing, suffering from scurvy and all this. They found the sand, cooking food in one pot and sharing, sitting next to the fire. I don't know, why do they think Portuguese, it's an African or a Dutch thing? Go to the Netherlands, you'll never find them eating that. They come to South Africa because the South African natives were cooking in that manner.
Sure.
These people didn't come here with 3-foot pot. They were eating biltong at least. That's why they had scurvy with all the salt from biltong as well as seawater that they were drinking. And the sand people
and
cured
zero
them.
vitamin C.
Exactly, zero. And the sand people, the native South Africans, cured them and fed them. That's where they learned Portuguese. So people must not think the Afrikaners, the Boers, must stop claiming that Portuguese is their creation. No, it's not. They must tell the people the truth.
Yeah.
The natives were cooking in that style on fire, sitting outside. We African people, not them Europeans.
Amandla, save the poiki. We want, bring back the poiki. We want our poiki back.
We must repossess the poiki. We must reclaim the Portuguese.
B, I think we are out of time, like I
Yes,
said.
Tata, I'm actually late. Yeah.
You are late, but interesting episode, interesting chat. Loved it.
Yeah, I'm going to wait for the insults for defending Fred, but I was not defending
No,
Fred
you're not.
and Bushiri.
And you see, that's another problem with how people choose to debate. I think our levels of debate are often very infantile because we don't look at what someone is saying.
Yes.
And we're very quick to then say, how can I insult that person because I don't agree with them?
Exactly.
Versus, how do I elevate my debate to try and convince them that no, these are the facts according to you, but the facts according to me are this. Therefore, listen to me and let's see if you can change your mind.
Yes.
Our levels of debate are so infantile often that it just becomes an insulting match.
Yeah, but I will not subject myself to that, my brother. Thank you very much.
Thank you, B. And where do we find you on social media? sir?
botsangm@gmail.com, at botsangm on social media handles, and 082-485-9100 on WhatsApp and calls.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all of your comments. Keep the debates happening. Keep the debates coming. There's been a massive debate on social media because of the issue we spoke about last week about the lack of artisans.
Oh yes, I saw that.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
it's been heavy.
We started the program.
It's been heavy. Eh?
I'm glad that we caused that spark.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I'm saying, that, life is a contestation of ideas. And the sooner we learn to contest for our own ideas maturely, then we can go somewhere as a society. As long as it doesn't degenerate into insults and name-calling and tackling the man or the woman versus, like I said, elevate your argument.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't call Botsang names. Come up with a better argument than what Botsang has, and let's keep the conversation going. That is how you build a society, you build a nation, and you change discourse.
Exactly, my brother.
On that note, like Botsang said, sometimes 1 + 1 is not 2, it is 3 - 1. Umpoleile, yo.
Arithmetic.
Oh, man. Thank you for hanging out with us on #PoliTricks on Wow, What a Week. Coming to you from downtown Johannesburg, we are part of the Africa Podcast Network, and these are the Amped Studios. Shout out to Trevor and the crew at Pezulu Works for all of the cinematography, Otis the Floor Fraser for all of our imaging, and shout out to YBF for all of behind the scenes social media stuff. Until next week, we are out of here. Have a wow week in spite of yourselves.